Okay, warm up. Uploading window. Yeah. Sunlight. How's it going? We are the live to do yet another warm up for the bazillionth time. It's interesting when you think about how many warm-ups I've done. But 4th year, working on my 5th of every working day, more or less warm up, with some exceptions, obviously. But yeah, it's a lot of warm-ups and a lot of knowledge being thrown around. We've had 2-week challenge, Unreal Bjorn, Feedback Friday. We've had Hero Card. There's a lot of things we've been doing. Hey Yatsuki, how's it going? How about that topic? What are we gonna draw today? So today I want to try again with I experimented with it yesterday. So today with the lights only sketching technique, I'm gonna add some layer of complexity to it. Hey Ice Die. What's up? Horned Duelist. Zealing, Cosmoverse, Bruno. Ahoy! How's it going? Captain Bows. Oh, with that powerful number 12. So for Bruno Romanos. And Cosmoverse is almost on number 12. Impressive. So topics, please. We got Horned Duelist. And I guess Ice Dies Bjorn Culies. Alright. No, so where was I with the idea of what I want to try today? Yeah, so I want to try the lights only, photo texture bashing, or like overlay with photo texture, so I get a base, and I'm then gonna use a hue jitter brush to add layers of complexity to that, and we'll see what happens. I experimented with it a little bit yesterday. I'll switch it off just so I don't show you anything that I shouldn't show. So I experimented with it a little bit yesterday in like how to build the image up. You can't really see now because I opened in a small JPEG, but you can see like the hue jitter brush, and it's not the best hue jitter brush, but that's what I want to try with today, to experiment with today on whatever topic gets chosen. Manticore. Hey Shaman Amidamaru, what up? Welcome. You have been properly greeted, and thank you for joining it. Listen, I'm not gonna draw me as Bjorn Cleese. That's narcissism. I can draw someone called Bjorn. Listen, I'm not gonna draw myself as Hercules. That's ridiculous. Hey, Eternal Lady, how's it going? So we got the Horn Duelist, Bjorn Cules, Manticore. Any other topics before I roll the dice? Because it's time. We got 3 options. Any other topic is go. you have the time it takes for me to go and navigate to the dice. In 3, 2, 1. Okay, no more topics. So we got 3 topics. That means 1 to 2 is topic 1, 2 to 3. Okay, we got 4. Renaissance Witch Hunter. Renaissance Witch Hunter. All right, cool. So 5 and 6, it's re-roll. 2. It's Bjorn Kelly's. Nice die. What have you done? What have you done, Nice die? Bjorn Kelly's. This is ridiculous. How am I gonna? I mean, I can't draw me. That's just plain old weird. So, as I was saying, the setup I want to experiment with is oh no, that's Atlas. Screw it. I'm gonna make Atlas anyways. So it's gonna be a bearded guy, dreadlock snake hairs. Okay. Let's do something. So what I want to try, like I said, I want to try this specific setup. Where I do lights and then photo texture on top. Granted, Hercules is going to be naked, more or less. So it's not going to serve me any good to do a photo overlay, but I do want to try it, so it's going to look a little bit weird. I kind of like the results of yesterday with the leaves, but they became a bit too kind of generic to have any impact. It just became noise. So I'm going to try to be careful of using that. What I want to use in terms of photo is just that kind of hue variation and texture, suggestion of texture, because that's what one of the reasons why I use that. Like slap a texture or a photo on top is for something, for it to have something to bite onto and make the gradients a little bit more extra complicated, right? Like the worst is the hot dog. The worst is when you have plain gradients, like perfect gradients. You want noise in there. You want some complexity to it. My shirt. Yeah, I came back from chopping wood, not shopping, chopping. That's by the way how you spot a Swedish person. They don't have that hard ch sound. Chopping. They say shopping, and shirt. And the same goes for the hard j sound, like jeans. A Swedish person says jeans. They don't have that j. This old thing. But yeah, that's how you spot a Swedish person. And the same for the S's. They don't have sharp S's. They have the soft. That's a little bit fun fact for you. Anyways, where was I earlier on? I was gonna rant about something. Oh yeah, I came back from the art department Berlin playground, and there was portfolio review. I die. There was portfolio review, right? So that people could sign up. I had I think a 2 or 3 hour slot. People signed up, and one after the other, they had 15 minutes of feedback. I gave them feedback, and then they, you know, it was the next one's turn, and the next one's turn, and you kind of went through the people and went through the portfolios, right? And it's interesting to see, like a big part of my a part of my talk was like the general design, like how you should approach design, what's the mentality, and so on. You know, like the standard my CG Master Academy class, more or less, from many years ago, but updated. Eternal Lady, yeah, I would say there was a big variety, but they were all pretty good. They were all pretty high level. Anyways, so like one example that's fantastic English, Bjorn. Your vocabulary is amazing. As an example of how it's just what a funny moment, more or less, I would say, a funny moment in my lecture where I had this game with them, right, where they should close their eyes and shaman. Yes, I did. 4 years. For 4 years, around 2012, I had a class. I had a character design class, and then Marco Nieler took over because I removed my class. It was one of the most popular classes on CGMA. It was always full for 4 years. Every term was smacked to the rims, full of people constantly, which was pretty cool. It was pretty cool. I had an average, I think, of 25 students every term, and I think there's 2 or 3 terms a year, so there was a lot of people, and a lot of those people now are really good, and of course I take all the glory. Anyways, so this one game I did during my lecture, right, like a participation of the audience, was everyone was supposed to close their eyes and then imagine a robot. And everyone like imagined a robot. I looked at all their faces. You can see how they kind of, you know, interacted with the idea. And then I said, well, this no shit, this robot is an assassin. And you could see them like computing it, right? You could see their faces shifting. One eye went up or whatever. They were like readjusting their vision, right? So then I did the explanation, like, okay, so most likely a lot of you either gave it a knife or a gun with a silencer, or maybe like a coat of black paint or whatever, right? Everyone imagine that whatever this assassin robot is now, they gave them some props or something, you know, that altered the mental image of this assassin robot. And then I said, well, keep your eyes shut. But this assassin robot uses gas to kill, and you could see everyone like, what? Like, didn't have a picture in their head, right? And hilariously, one guy had like a visceral reaction to it. He was like, well, jerked his head back and like looked at me like, what the fuck are you on about? And it was so hilarious, and that made my point exactly. And what I afterwards moved on to explain is like, we have a shorthand in our brain. Like we see things as symbols, and because we haven't really been exposed to assassination robots that uses gas as a means of killing, we don't have that shorthand in our mind, right? But that doesn't exclude the ability of us to create something. So we got to use other shorthand symbols to communicate that idea, right? And it was so funny. But what was the funniest was his reaction, like this visceral, like what, like literally threw his head back in confusion, and then opened his eyes, like it jarred in his brain. And it's such a funny thing, to explain the theory of symbolic thinking, right? That we all have shorthands, and then after that I went on to to explain it in other means and so on, and then I gave another example, and then I developed that train of thought into a design analogy, and all these things. Quite complex lecture. It's not show and tell. But yeah, so like I started saying, I did portfolio reviews, and it's so interesting that even a lot of people, they are character designers, right? And there was some environment stuff and so on, but anyways, everyone is making very similar mistakes, and it's fascinating, and it's so fascinating that I do know the fact that I was I was also a beginner at one time in my life. I was also there. I was also I didn't know the rules, and I had to figure them out myself, how to design and so on. But I would imagine that today, this day and age of all the Gumroads, and I mean, granted, there isn't very good teachers in character design, and there isn't like a set way of doing things, but I would assume at least that there is means of learning how to properly design something, because a lot of people making the same mistakes, and every portfolio I had to point the same mistakes out, which is fascinating. Shaman, yeah, it's a good practice to go after that practice, though, to chase down your mental images. Okay, so I'm halfway. I'm gonna start experimenting now with textures. Last warm up, I jumped the gun a little bit, I think. So now I added slightly more complexity to it. There isn't any color. I think I will have to add color already before I add the photos. I'm gonna randomly pick something. I think too noisy texture is gonna make him feel undead. So what's a good calm texture. Good colors. How about candlelit tavern? Let's try that. Completely random. Let's see what happens. Let's use an old painting. This is crazy. So we're gonna use this old painting as a texture. But before that, I wanna quickly add.
Oh, yeah.
Hey, Dame Deviant. Oof, you got your number 12. Oh, Jesus. Oh, Jesus. The powerful, powerful number 12. Look out, everybody. You have no chance. Thank you very much, Dame Deviant. Amazing. Amazing. My cat is doing something. Sneaky, sneaky business. Oof. All right. It's a horrible drawing here of Hercules, but let's go. So I'm looking for color. That kind of looks cool at the top part. The lamp part isn't really helping me that much. And like I said, I'm gonna use a hue jitter brush. Oof, that's not good. That's not good either. Nope. That's not what I wanted to do. That's what I wanted to do. Yeah, so let's. Okay, I'm gonna paint in the same layer on top of the new layer overlay. Let's do an overlay and see what happens. I want to add hue jitter, color jitter brush. You see? On overlay, and I want to kind of add a bit of. Oh, that's too much. I want to add a range of randomness. It's a bit weird. I don't really know what's happening, but let's go. I want to have those randomness, happy accidents. I want to have complexity. Probably should change color. Probably not the best idea either to do this, but here we go. I know, like a friend of mine, I'm gonna have to go and smudge some of these very specific things that we can spot. Like my friend Levi Pederfy. Is that how you say it in Swedish? English? Anyways, he's a really good speed painter, and he recently put up a new speed painting, and he does it so cool and so well and so juicy, and I'm so impressed by it, and I really enjoy the way he does his art. I'm gonna have to close the thing a little bit. It was a little bit too in my face, but yeah, it's really nice, and I wanna practice some of that. So that's why I'm kind of trying to add complexity to this way of sketching, to see what kind of things can I do to manipulate the image to get some very deep complexity quick, and not being reliant on the photo, but that I can sketch first and then quickly slap something together. Something that those speed painters, I've mentioned this before, but they do really well is their use of selection and textures. For me, I go over volumes way too many times. So what happens is that I lose a lot of beautiful texture work from the sketch stage. The sketch stage can have a lot of cool stuff, but because I keep going over and over the volumes, I lose a lot of that, and that's not good. So that's something I want to practice, which I think is needed. Anyways, it feels like rusted metal. Yeah, a little bit. It has that feel to it, and I think there's a lot of ugly edges because of the soft brush earlier. I want to try to adjust. But to be fair, I really like the complexity of the gradients. They are really nice. Even though the edge work and so on is not very fantastic. Does that help? Maybe. Anyway, so the get back to the topic. I was sidetracked. Let's maybe add multiply. So the most common thing that we saw, which I was trying to get to in those portfolio reviews, are the basics. I was getting to that with my side rant about symbolic thinking, and a part of my talk was that I was going through the basics of design, like big, medium, and small, shapes, values, and so on. And then I went into art direction and consolidating all these things into a clear direction, and how to approach it, and what you should think about, and so on. But there's so many people doing the same mistake of too messy designs, no clear rhythm, and just overpopulating the design with similar shapes and similar noise, and in that sense you're diluting the message. You're not delivering as strong as you could if you had more focus or more ability to curate your decisions, because a lot of people noticeably are just kind of throwing everything in there. And that's why I kind of said it's interesting to see that now, in this day and age, there isn't really a clear, like, this is how you design, do these moves, think about these things. I mean, for me they are obvious, and for me they've always been obvious to some degree, even though when I didn't know them, or I don't want to say mastered them, that sounds very like I'm full of myself. I have not mastered design, mind you. Please don't think I've mastered design. But I do understand the principles of it and things to look for. I mean, obviously, it comes with practice of having to look at someone else's art and try to decipher it and spot mistakes. That's why I also I want to have an open community on my Discord where people can give feedback and suggestions and things, because it does help you look for problems, and in return it does help you to look at making spotting your own mistakes, which is really, really important and is a massive part of um, your journey and to be a great artist, you know, to be able to analyze your own work. And then, yes, of course, it's great to have a portfolio review by someone who's more experienced and can spot mistakes that you're unable to spot. And then you get another level to try to reach. And then when you reach that, ideally you'll be able to gain those strengths that you didn't manage to spot, and then you're able to spot them again on your own, and you don't need that input from that same artist or getting the same type of input, you know, because you've moved on or you evolved. But if you never try to do that, if you never try to help someone else spotting mistakes, you will never be able to practice that, and you will never be stronger, and so on and so on and so forth. But yeah, so spotting all those mistakes on portfolio reviews is so fascinating, and it made me really want to do my Gumroad series of character design, because it's like obvious that there is a gap, a theoretical gap. Hey, runaway buzzo, welcome. Yes, so what was missing um, was the basics of design, like big, medium, and small, light, medium, and dark values, combination of them, having a readable design that can scale up and down in detail, but still retain design. Complexity, added complexity doesn't mean better design. There is a sweet spot where you can't remove more or add more. You should find that middle ground where the design is ideal. Overcomplicated designs tend to be much like my rant, hard to follow, hard to understand. So that's what usually happens. And I saw that over and over. Some great designs, even when people had stylized portfolios, they still had those same mistakes of unable to read the shapes because there's not enough, like, let's say, statement. There's not a strong design which dictates the rhythm of the piece. Let's take let's say in this instance what I'm thinking about was actually Snivels, the winner of Unreal Tournament 2. I gave Snivels a portfolio review. I don't want to go into detail because I find it a private conversation between me and him, but as an example, let's say a hut design he had done, or like a design of a environmental thing, right? And I said it's the same principles as designing a character. You have to have big, medium, and small shapes. Distribution of them depends on whatever you want to design or put emphasis on. You might, like, for as an example, like I didn't give him this example. I'm gonna stop talking about him now. But let's say a big pillar with the like 50 small things underneath the pillar. That contrast between the pillar and the 50 small things is going to create a charge, right? But then you can put those 50 things onto the pillar. Then you're going to stop looking at the pillar and the noise, and you're just going to look at the noise, right? So it's the same idea of like designing something that demands attention. Where should that attention be directed? Where's the contrast? Where's the points of relaxation? Where's the rhythm of the design to help us look where we need to look when we look at it, so that we understand what we're looking at? You know, all these aspects of design. You know, what's the shape? What's the color? What's the relationship between the shapes? All these things are so important, and a lot of people ignore it. They just go, oh, I've seen someone else do this before. I'm gonna just try to stick as close as I can to it. And when someone is actually designing consciously and thinking about stuff like that, it shows. Then you can always argue about like skill level, or are you able to pull that off, or but it is such a massive part of being an artist in this industry, is the ability to put together shapes that look good, values that look good together in a cohesive and readable way. Then you can always see skill level maybe is not up to par, but that is secondary. I can design something on a shitty piece of paper with a shitty piece of pen, but the shape relationship between those things are still going to be good, even though it's with a crayon, you know, and then with my offhand. The thinking is still there. Zealin. Yeah, it is. I mean, perspective and the fundamentals are basics, right? Those are man hours. Those are just grind, right? Hey, runaway. You're the blind samurai bending water guy. At the table? We were portfolio review at the table when I think Mike Hill was talking. Are you that guy? Ah, cool. Nice. Hey, imperfect artist, how's it going? Cosmoverse. No. Well, there is one artist who steals all my theory and all my lectures and all my ideas and puts them as the artist's own. So you can always buy that artist's gumroads. But I'm gonna do my. I'm gonna try to put these all down into a recording and sell it. Shaman, it is very lame, but I also don't want to hang that artist out in public because why should I? Anyways, let's review the experimentation. I really like photo on top of lights only with the jitter brush effect. Like if we zoom in, we can see like the gradients became very complex. There's a lot of cool things to sample from. There's a lot of interesting aspects. I mean, granted, it's only half an hour, but because I put down somewhat solid base first. Let's see. Let's go. Actually, I can scale back. That was the base. Because I approached the base this way first, there's a clear value gradient, there's volume, there's light direction. And then I slapped the photos and stuff on top in different settings to retain texture noise. I tried really hard not to repaint areas with too much brushwork, but I used layer settings that retained the underlying noise, right? With added the noise of the brush on top. I really like this method. I feared that he would be too freaky in terms of noise in the texture, but I think it worked out pretty okay. I think with one more half an hour, separating a little bit of behavior of the materials and the skin hue and making him feel a little bit more alive, I think it's a cool technique. It definitely leans towards what I like in terms of like juicy textures and brushwork. It's not good for any clean artist, obviously. But let's experiment again tomorrow. Ideally, a little bit more complex image tomorrow. We'll see. Runaway. Yeah, yeah, yeah. I think so too. Like especially like let's say on his shoulder there, like those color variations. I would never really do by myself. And like a little bit in the face here, like this randomness. It has a little bit of life to it. I kind of like it. Shaman. Yeah, I'm actually I could do tomorrow, or Friday. Let's do on Friday. One of the warm ups that I like, I can do one more half an hour on top of, to see how to push it further. Runaway. Oh yeah, please do, please do. I'd love to see. And if anyone does any of these experiments, please do share them and please do comment and let me know that it was due to my experimentation. I'd love to know, what you thought or takeaway or the negatives or anything. I mean, it helps snowball the experimentation. I don't know what I'm doing in that sense. I'm testing a technique out. Shaman, yeah, it's on YouTube, the VOD, or on Twitch. Zealin, exactly. The right arm, yeah. There's some cool things happening. Some cool things happening. I think a lot of it is beneficial from the base I did, and then the texture stuff on top so that it could interact. And I also think what helped with the readability is, let's switch all these things off, is me making the relationship between warm darks and cool lights. And you can see it going through the whole process to the end. That relationship still retained, which is something I didn't do yesterday. And that why yesterdays were a little bit more of like a shitty example. Shaman, there's not a command for it. It's underneath the stream. You can see archive and it's all the seasons. So have at it. Now let's find someone to raid, to pass the torch onto, pass the love onto. Chloe is drawing some Halloween themed not horrific, but scary portrait. I think that's a good transition. She's AFK at the moment, but I'm quite sure she'll come back. So let's raid Chloe. Have a great day. Good night if you're that part of the world. See you tomorrow for more experimentation. I'm gonna take you to the raid after the outro, so don't go anywhere. I'm gonna go in the darkness. I'll see you tomorrow. Bye everyone.